The desert stretched before me, endless and silent. Yet inside my chest, a thousand storms awakened. I rode with the wind, not toward glory, but toward a forgotten door. The door that once opened to the laughter of my soul. How many years have passed since I last stood there? How many suns have risen and set since her voice wrapped itself around my heart, since her eyes poured light into my darkness, since her hands carried the weight of my restless dreams. O horse beneath me, you know my secrets. You carried me when I was strong. Now you carry me as I break in silence. Each step closer to her home feels like the desert itself judging me. Will she still remember? Will the walls of her home still hold the scent of jasmine she planted? Or will the silence of time mock me for coming too late? I am Fazza, son of the sands, a rider of storms, a poet of fire. But tonight I am only a man, returning to the door of memories, where love once made me immortal. The moon rose above the dunes, and every shadow reminded me of her silhouette. I remembered the nights when she waited at the courtyard, her veil dancing with the night breeze, her eyes brighter than the stars that envied her. O God, why do hearts wander away, only to return shattered? Why do we leave the one who was the anchor of our storms? Her laughter still lives in my veins. Her silence still carves wounds in my chest. How foolish I was to think the world outside her arms could offer me more than her embrace. The closer I come, the more I feel the weight of my sins. The house is not just a place. It is a living soul. It breathes with the memory of her prayers. It echoes with the footsteps of our past. O walls, forgive me. O gate, open once more for me. For within you is the woman who once called me her world. I stopped before the gate, the same wooden gate I once carved my name upon. The marks of my hands were still there, but they looked older, tired, forgotten. I pressed my palm against the door, and my soul trembled. This was not just wood. This was the last barrier between my regret and her forgiveness. Inside I could almost hear her steps, the sound of her anklets as she moved, the fragrance of rose water she poured on her hand. Memories, alive and merciless, burned me more than the desert sun ever did. O heart, why do you beat so wildly? Why do you hope for an embrace when you deserve nothing but silence? Yet even in silence, her presence would heal me. I whispered to the night, let her hear my voice, even if she chooses never to answer. For sometimes, standing at the door is itself a kind of love, a prayer that time cannot erase. The night deepened, and the stars became witnesses to my return. I closed my eyes and spoke to her soul, even if she never heard me. My beloved, my first home, I come not as the Fazza the world knows, but as the man who lost himself when he lost you. Forgive me if I arrive with nothing but words. Forgive me if my hands are empty, for my heart has carried only you, through deserts, through palaces, through wars of silence. If your door opens, the desert will bloom again. If your eyes meet mine, every poem I ever wrote will kneel before you. But if you choose silence, I will still love you as the moon loves the sea, even from a distance, even without touch. I waited. The wind kissed the gate, and the night grew heavier. Yet in my chest, a fragile hope refused to die. The silence was heavy, yet within that silence, a thousand voices called me. Every grain of sand beneath my feet knew the story of my return. The wind whispered like an old friend, carrying my words to the unseen corners of her home. I stood there, uncertain, a rider who had faced storms, lions, and kings, but trembled before a single door. How strange is the heart! It conquers empires, but bows helplessly to love. O my old companion, my first soul, do you sit behind those walls even now, remembering me as I remember you? Do your hands still touch the same prayer beads, asking God for peace, perhaps not knowing that your peace was once me? My eyes closed, and I remembered the mornings we shared, the rising sun painting gold on her face, her smile waking the silence of dawn, her words sweeter than the first sip of water. After a long desert journey, I wanted to knock, my hands lifted, but the weight of guilt pulled them back. What right do I have to disturb the peace of a woman whose heart I once wounded with absence? Still, my soul whispered, if you turn back now, you will carry this wound forever. So I remained at the gate, a beggar before the palace of his own heart. The night around me grew still. Even the stars seemed to lean closer, as if they too awaited her answer. Oh God, if this door opens, let it open with mercy. If it stays closed, give me the strength to love her in silence, until the desert itself forgets my name. The night sky above me turned into a mirror, reflecting every mistake I had buried. The stars burned like her eyes once did, and I could not escape their judgment. I stood at her gate, and in that moment, the mighty desert rider became a stranger, a man stripped of his crown, his horses, his pride, left only with the trembling heart of a lover. I remembered the first day I brought her here. The walls were new, the rooms empty, yet her laughter filled them like rain fills dry earth. She planted jasmine in the courtyard. She sang to the silence of the house, and she made a kingdom out of bare stone. O house, you were not built of bricks alone, but of her patience, her prayers, her endless giving. How blind I was to leave you both behind, chasing shadows of a world that meant nothing. I placed my hand upon the wooden gate, and whispered, not to her but to the door itself, do you still recognize my touch? Do you still remember the nights I returned late, and she waited with the lamp in her hand, her eyes carrying both love and unspoken sorrow? The desert wind grew colder, carrying the scent of old memories, the faint fragrance of rosewater, the smoke of incense she once burned for me. Even the night seemed to ache with her absence, as if the whole universe conspired to remind me of her. My horse shifted restlessly behind me, as though even he knew the weight of this moment. He had carried me across endless distances, but this last step toward her door was heavier than all the journeys of my life combined. The door did not open, yet I felt her presence in the silence. Perhaps she was awake, listening to my soul knocking louder than my hand. Perhaps she stood by the curtain, her breath caught between anger and longing. Oh beloved, if only you knew, every poem I ever wrote was secretly yours. Every victory I celebrated was empty without your smile. Every desert I crossed was only a road leading me back to you. But I fear the years may have hardened your heart. Maybe the tears I caused carved rivers in your soul that no apology can ever fill. Maybe another silence grew inside you, a silence that does not wait, does not forgive. I bowed my head, and for the first time Fazza, the falcon of the desert, kneeled before the unseen. I was no longer a prince, no longer a rider, only a man begging for one last chance. At the door of memories, do you still wear the same silver bangles I gifted you on our wedding night? Do they still sing softly when you move, or did you bury them with the ashes of our love? Do you still keep the poems I carved for you in leather, or did the ink fade like my presence faded from your life? I do not know. I only know this: my soul is thirsty, and only your forgiveness is the water that can quench me. The night stretched long, but my heart refused to leave. Every second outside her door felt like a lifetime inside eternity. I spoke again, this time to the winds. Carry my words to her heart. If she sleeps, let my voice become her dream. If she wakes, let my love be the light in her darkness. Memories broke over me like waves. I saw her face on the day I left. Her eyes filled not with anger, but with silent prayers I never understood. She let me go without a word, and in that silence she carved my punishment. Oh, my old wife, you were the first to teach me what love meant. You were the first to hold my wounds, the first to believe in my voice, the first to tell me that even a rider needs a home. And yet I left you. I, who wrote verses about loyalty, became disloyal to the very one who made loyalty a living thing. Now I return, not with crowns or victories, but with a heart torn open. I return with poems carved in regret, with eyes searching for the mercy in yours. If this door never opens, I will still wait until my bones turn to dust upon your threshold. For better to die at your gate than to live in a world without you. The desert can bury me, The winds can erase my footprints, but my love will cling to these walls forever, like the call of a falcon to the sky, endless, loyal, unbroken. The night was no longer just a night. It became a companion, a witness to my heart laid bare before her gate. The moonlight spilled across the courtyard, and I imagined her shadow moving softly within, just as it had years ago when love was young and hope was endless. How many times had I returned to this memory in my dreams? 1,000 nights I awoke, believing I had heard her call my name. 1,000 mornings I carried the weight of knowing it was only silence. But tonight I stood at the very place where memory and reality collided. My lips moved in prayer. O God, soften her heart, not for me alone, but for the love we once built together. Let my voice reach her, even if my hands never do. Let her remember me not as the man who left, but as the one who finally returned. I thought of the times I had seen her cry, not loud, not broken, but in the quiet way of strong women. Her tears were hidden in the folds of her shawl, her pain swallowed behind her gentle smile, and still she gave me strength, even when I was the reason for her weakness. What kind of woman loves like that? What kind of heart forgives silently, waits endlessly, and yet asks for nothing in return? I bowed my head against the gate, the wood cold beneath my forehead, and I whispered her name into the silence. Her name was a flame, and it burned across my tongue like the first line of a poem too sacred to be spoken. Inside perhaps she stirred. Perhaps her hands trembled as she held her veil. Perhaps her heart beat faster, hearing a voice she had promised herself never to hear again. I did not know, but I believed, and belief is stronger than certainty. Oh my beloved, if you open this door, I will spend my life rewriting the story I ruined. I will plant gardens where there were deserts. I will write poems where there was silence. And I will build a home in your eyes that no time can ever destroy. But if you choose not to open, I will still wait. For waiting at your door is a kind of worship, a devotion carved deeper than stone, a vow carried by every breath I take. The falcon may soar high, but even he returns to his nest. And I, Fazza, rider of deserts, have returned to mine. The dawn was near. The sky shifted from black to blue, and the first bird sang as if to remind me that even the darkest nights must surrender to light. Still, the door had not opened, yet I did not leave. For how can a man turn away from the very place where his soul was born? My heart whispered, even if she never forgives you, even if she never steps into your arms again, this place will remain your Kaaba of love, the direction your heart will always bow to. I remembered the vows we once spoke, not in front of crowds, not in loud voices, but in the quiet of the desert wind. She had said, as long as the stars guard the night, my love will guard you. And I, blinded by youth and arrogance, thought such promises could never fade. But promises are fragile, and men are weaker than they think. I left her with silence, and silence grew heavier than iron chains. Oh my beloved, if you stand behind that door now, know this, I have nothing to give you but my soul. I do not bring treasures, I do not bring victories. I bring only a heart that has been searching for you, across deserts, across years, across mistakes. If you choose to open, let it not be for the Fazza the world knows, but for the man who still trembles when he hears your name. If you choose not to open, let my tears water the sand outside your home, so that even the desert may remember that once love lived here. The sun rose higher, and its light painted the walls of her house gold. For a moment I thought I saw movement, a curtain shifting, a shadow crossing the window. My heart pounded like a drum in battle, not with fear, but with hope raw and fragile. I whispered to the dawn, O God, make this moment eternal, whether in reunion or in waiting. Do not let my love die unspoken. Do not let her memory fade honored. And so I remained, a rider of deserts, a poet of fire, but now only a man at the door of memories, hoping that one day, the woman within would open, not just her door, but her heart once more.